right, welcome to tonight's board meeting, April 28, 2026. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Tonight, we have our Kitsap Regional Library mission statement will be read by Eric Cisney.
Inspiring curiosity and connection.
All right, we're going to go to welcome and introductions. First, I want to welcome our board members, Eric Cisney, Eric Fong, and myself. I'm going to turn it over to Jason to do introductions.
Good evening. Welcome to the March board meeting. And among us is Executive Assistant Tammy Jeffries, Deputy Director Chief Operating Officer Dan Baer, Director of Human Resources Chandra Tellerico, the Director of Strategy and Communications Jeannie Allen, and the Director of IT and Facilities Mike Rose. Absent tonight is the Deputy Director of Public Services Shannon Peterson, and we have special guests amongst us who are presenting a mission moment. And the mission moment you'll hear from in a minute is by our professional group of teen services librarians and also an assist for mobile. We have in the house from Sylvan Way, Jacqueline Keating, from Port Orchard, Wayne Holder, from Silverdale, we have Kayla O'Connor, and we have from Mobile Services, Danielle Bogart, sorry, and then we have our former teen services librarian, but branch manager of the MOK Library, Glenna Madsen, and then our mobile services and Sylvan Way manager, Ashley Oaksmith, and the collective will be presenting our teen to the library program, which has been revamped, or not revamped, it is on steroids and it is working well, and it is happening all over Kitsap Regional Library. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. We have additions or change to the agenda. Marwan Cameron, Vice President. I don't think I've changed. I'm just filling in for Gina, so that is it there. Public comment, I will read it only because I think consistency is good, but we don't have anyone here for public comment today. However, should you want to have public comment, per the Public Engagement Policy Board, this time is designated for all residents of Kitsap County to present public comments. The public comment time is set aside for listening to feedback from community without discussion or debate with the speakers. Speakers are asked to follow the Public Comment Board guidelines, which provides instructions and limitations to the public comment that includes anonymous comments, forwarded emails of others' remarks, comments pertaining to personal issues, and those that don't align with the library's standard for patron conduct library policy. If you wish to speak in person, please sign in with your name, organization affiliation, is speaking as a representative of a group, and topic of interest. If you wish to share your public comment virtually, please submit a registration form. Please note that up to 3 minutes is allotted per person. Thank you. We do want to hear from people. All right, let's go into number 6, our consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion of the Board of Trustees with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired, items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request. The first one we have is 6.01, minutes for the March 24th, 2026 regular board meeting. Do we have any comments? No? Then can I have a motion, please?
I so move to approve.
Second.
All right. We will move forward. Approved. And then the 6.02, payment of March 2026 expenditures and payroll and benefits. Are there any comments there? None? May I have a motion there?
I move approve 6.02.
Second.
All right. Yes.
Actually, the
Consent.
agenda.
Oh, we could just do it all at once?
Consent agenda covers all of it.
Well, I've got one more. Can I do it?
You go ahead. Yeah. You're the vice president, so whatever you want to do.
The last one is 6.03, surplus library materials withdrawn from the collection for March 2026, and just for the good of the order.
I move we approve 6.03.
Second.
All right, thank you for your indulgence. All right, number 7, presentations, reports, and briefings. 7.01, mission moments from middle schoolers to the library. If y'all would come forward, we have Ashley Oaksmith, Sylvan Way, and Mobile Service Manager, Jacqueline Keaton, Sylvan Way, Teen Service Librarian, Danielle Bogart, Mobile Services Library Associate, Wayne Holder, Port Orchard Teen Service Librarian, and Kayla O'Connor, Silverdale Teen Service Librarian. Welcome.
Is this on? Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm gonna adjust. Okay, thanks for having us. We're here to talk about 6th graders to the library, which launched in 2025. I've got some photos throughout the presentation of 6th graders at the different branches. Feel free to enjoy their joy as we have. So there's a program overview up here. I won't read it to you. I know you can all do that yourselves. But the idea of this is expanding on the 3rd graders to the library program that we have worked with at the library for a long time. We want the middle schoolers to know that the library is a safe and welcoming place for them. They should be there. They belong at the library. And this is a field trip program that is designed to make sure they know that. So we're trying to get them familiar with library services, spaces, staff, so that they feel comfortable coming back to the library, hopefully throughout the rest of their lives. Our formatting got a little funky here, so some of our bullet points are overlapped, but 3rd graders to the library has been going for 19 years, going strong, which is really great, so we wanted to expand that to some older kids. We looked at the middle school age, because that's when we can start to lose kids as they go to a new school, but we can also gain kids who maybe weren't here in 3rd grade. We can get them if they've moved in from the military or otherwise. We can make sure they're familiar with the library. This is all made possible by the support of the foundation, which is fantastic. It's across the county at all of our different middle schools, and it makes sure that every kid leaves with the familiarity with the library and also a free book that they get to keep. It's not one that they have to return to the library, which is always kind of fun. And then it all looks a little different depending on the school and the capacity at the school level and the library level. So we'll talk a little bit about how it's gone at the schools that we've started with, and we are continuing to expand to other schools in the next year as well. This is also me. This is a little bit of feedback from Jem Seddon, who is our previous Bainbridge Island Teen Services Librarian. She's now the Adult Services Librarian at Little Boston, but she had some feedback from her community with the ones that she ran before she made that move. Okay. Thank you.
And on the screen, we have Casey, who is our Poulsbo Teen Librarian. They are planning to do theirs coming up in October of this year. So I'm Wayne. I work with the South Kitsap School District. Our school district is really spread out. So there are some schools that are over 20 miles away from the library. That does make it a bit of a hindrance to have all of them come. So we did open house nights as a part of the TTL format. So after hour events available for the 6th graders, and then I made individual trips to all of the schools and made classroom visits to teach them about the different resources that are available, as well as getting them set up with their student portal, signing into their library card. That way they have it all signed in, ready to go going forward anytime they need to do research, read books, anything like that. Looking ahead, going into 2026-7, I want to keep the individual school visits. I've had a lot of positive response from teachers on being able to use the resources that we have available once they've been signed in, and we're restructuring the open house nights to do a larger scale singular 6th grade TTL event in South County as a whole, so all 3 schools coming together.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline. I'm the Teen Services Librarian at the Sylvan Way branch. This year, I was able to get Fairview into the building, so I had reached out to the principal in the fall. He said February would be the best time, and he was able to take care of all of the buses, make sure the kids had their schedule, could be back in time for lunch. Fairview starts really early, so 7:25 in the morning, so it worked out well for them to be able to come while we were closed, so before we opened. And that gave it kind of a VIP feel for the students, which was fun. They got run of the whole building. And school leadership came with the students on each visit, which was great. It showed the buy-in from the school. So we had the principal or the assistant principal on each visit. We did 4 visits and about 60 students each time. And CK is one of the school districts where student ID numbers are not library accounts with us, and so we made library cards ahead of time. One student was so excited about it that his dad drove him to the library before the field trip so he could pick it up ahead of it. The rest of the kids got theirs right after the trip. So for next year, my goal is to get my second middle school, Mountain View, into our buildings. This May, so May 29th, Danielle and I are going to be going to them and staying in their school library, and each classroom is going to come to us for a combined TTL summer learning program visit. So yeah, next year, hopefully, once I've made those connections, we can get them into the Sylvan Way branch. And during the visits, we split up each group into 2. So I would give them a Library 101 presentation, and then they would go to Danielle and to Ashley for a scavenger hunt. So it was great to have support from mobile services, and I'm going to hand it to Danielle to talk a little bit about that.
My name's Danielle Bogard, and I work as an associate with Mobile Services, and I got involved because Mobile Services has started providing, where we can, supplemental support to larger events and programs. So we did, after the kids were with Jacqueline, we did a scavenger hunt in the main space of the library, and as we pointed out, we were closed, so the kids got full run, and we did popsicle sticks, where the popsicle sticks would say things such as, find me a book about fish, find me a magazine, learn how to use the photocopier. And the kids would go out and find that and bring it back to us, and then get another popsicle stick and do it again. So this provided a way to learn about the space and learn about what we had to offer, and there was a lot of exploration. So after the scavenger hunt, we had free time where the kids just got to just do what they wanted within the space. And this was one of the comments that we overheard. And there were kids creating art at the dry erase board tables. There were kids playing pretend with the kitchen set, which is something we weren't expecting. There were kids playing chess. There were kids doing puzzles. I even found a couple of kids who had little notebooks with them, and they were making a list of titles for items that they wanted to check out in the future. We asked the kids what did they learn and if there was anything that they found unexpected about the day. And there was one student who voiced up that she had discovered that we have books about her culture, and that was incredibly touching to find out. And this was just something that I remembered because I heard, I don't even know who said this, this was just something that I suddenly heard get kind of like exclaimed through the library as they were like running around and discovering things. And so I feel like they really got to find out that this was a place they were welcome, and this was a place where they would get to be themselves. And, oh, sorry. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
Questions, board? So I have a question for you. You talked to the youth and you got a little bit of feedback. Were there any ideas that they said that they would like to see the library engage with them with in different ways?
So there weren't many, since I did school visits, they didn't come to us, so we had a little bit less of a fun, free structured thing, which definitely they voiced wanting more of a free structure. It was run more of a lesson where they came to the library and I was able to show them various resources. So that is something I'm hoping to integrate, is a more kind of whimsical free time aspect.
Well, Sylvan is a great space for a scavenger hunt. What else cool do you have in mind for the next school year?
Oh, you were saying, sorry, you said, do we have it in mind again first?
Well, that and then what else might you have? Because the scavenger hunt is really cool for Sylvan in particular.
Yeah, I think it really worked out well. I think we could just do that again because it introduces the kids to the different spaces, but it also kind of shows the objective of the program is to make sure that the students feel that the staff are safe and the spaces are safe and that they're for them just as much as for adults as they head into middle school. And so I think the scavenger hunt, letting them like kind of run around and explore, hits that objective well. So I think we'll keep that going. I haven't heard specifically from my schools like specific things they want to see. They're just happy to be a part of it. So
Excellent. Eric?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious if you had any more learnings about why middle schoolers had not been to the library before, whether it was lack of awareness, because it was interesting, the comments of like they actually have manga and it's actually chill tells me that maybe they had a perception of the library and therefore they didn't go. They were aware of it, but they thought it was something else. I'm curious what you might have heard about why somebody wouldn't go.
So I can't speak for all of the school districts. Whenever I was doing my visits, I would usually ask a question akin to, how many of you have been to a Kitsap Regional Library before? Usually about 70% would raise their hand. So that 30% that are new to the area, military or various things, I believe that might be a prime group that are saying things like that, because a lot of the ones who have already been would voice that I remember we got to do X, Y, Z whenever they were in the library before. So there was already sort of a remembrance of what they've done prior.
yeah, because this is like sort of the launch of sixth graders to the library. And like we said, the third graders have been going for almost 20 years. And so hopefully our hope is that most of them have been at least on that third grade field trip, but we do have a number of new kids, new families who may not have come. So I didn't hear anything specific, but that would be my guess as well.
The CK schools, we're still getting it rolling, figuring out what's going to work for them, but just in overhearing, because I'm down the hill from Central Kitsap Middle School at Silverdale, and I hear from kids who I know are there all the time. They're surprised about new things we have at the library, and I think part of that is just routine. Sometimes they're like, I'm just coming in to use the chairs. I'm going to sit here and wait for my mom to pick me up, and that is the only thing that I know about the library until it's not, until we have this opportunity for them to explore the space in a safe and comfortable way that is fun, that gives them an opportunity to share maybe with their friends or their family that way. And then sometimes we give them a lot of information all at once. Like if I go do a school visit, it's like, hey, here's so many things that the library has to offer. And so I think this is a really good touch point to say, let's remind you of some of that cool stuff that maybe you've forgotten since that third grade field trip, or you have only been in to hang out because it's raining outside, or those kind of things. So it's just another way to touch base with them and expand their idea of what the library can be for them.
And I'll just add, on all of that they said, I think that the scavenger hunt gave an opportunity to explore. And so when people come in and use something in a very specific way and use it in the way that they already knew how, they're not being put in a position where they're doing as much exploring. And so I think some of the kids discovered things that they didn't know before because of that safety of just exploring and going outside of your routine.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, really thank you for the work you do, and for the board, a little more context, particularly around that question about, middle schoolers and their library use habits. I mean, this whole program is really born out of the idea that there are corollaries for third grade reading success and later success in school. And so that's why there's a lot of, across the country, entry points for third graders. But more than that, if you worked in a library day to day, you sort of notice patterns of kids. Like, obviously, when kids are small, their parents are bringing them for story time. And then if you're not a library kid, and we know library kids, and because libraries are generally regarded as safe spaces, and so kids who don't have a place to go are often in the library after school. Those are library kids. They know about the library. They know about the resources. Then what tends to happen, the pattern is that if parents aren't bringing them for story time and they're in middle school, they're likely not interested in a library if they don't have to go. And so the reintroduction provides both a cool way to say, hey, here are new resources, let's get you back in the library, and then the next milestones are coming, 8th grade reading success, which is the next milestone of we need to be reading on time and reading at level. And so this program, I think it's critical, and it gives us the ability to pull those kids back in, give them a reorientation, because they probably had it when they were in 3rd grade and forgot. And I think I want to applaud not only the managers who have been in those spaces as librarians, but the librarians and associates themselves who are taking on this task. Last thing I'll say is another anecdote. My wife was, as a para, was in that group and had nothing but good things to say about the level of engagement from staff and the level of comfortability that her students had in that space, and it was really impactful. So I did not even know she was going until that morning. She said, I'm going to your library, and I'm going for a field trip. But nevertheless, I applaud you for the work you do, and thank you for giving the board a really good view of what this program looks like. Thank you.
All right, now we will have board reports.
Report.
We had our board retreat on Friday, and so we all attended, and we talked a lot about what's coming up for the rest of the year, library goals, director goals. But I think the most important thing that we learned is that Tammy knows Kung Fu, so nobody mess with her.
So I was going to talk about the retreat, but in light of our presentation tonight and Jason's words, I was going to tell a story. My daughter and I were together for spring break, and she wanted to come and work for Dad, and she needed to make some copies, so we needed to go into the Sylvan Way Library to use the copy machine. Of course, you know, big passion about the copy machine. And I discovered she didn't have a library card. That was kind of strange. But she didn't have one, so she got to pick one out. She had a little bit of analysis paralysis, but she got her library card. Librarian showed her how to use the copy machine. And after it was all said and done, she was so excited to be in Sylvan, she wanted to leave me and go to Silverdale and work in the library and finish the job. And she also is now considering doing her homework in the library at CK. So, you know, just kind of gave me a little tear in my eye there. But it's just what you said, right? Youth can get a little disconnected from the library. She was very much engaged in elementary school. And as a parent, I lost sight in really engaging her in the library. And her coming in and just having that experience kind of reignited, you know, that zeal. And wow, you know, the library is this, and it's pretty cool. So I just wanted to share that story as my board report today. To our long-range strategic planning committee report by Eric.
Thank you, Marwan. We covered a lot. We talked about the Friends groups. Jason expressed the appreciation for all of the work that the Friends of the Library do across all of the branches, and we discussed more frequent connections and ensuring we can continue to support their passion and enthusiasm. We also talked about fundraising prioritization for capital expenses. Jason shared that KRL will be joining the Urban Libraries Council, which is a high-impact network of urban libraries in the nation that provide their voice and talents to each other. It's a way to knowledge share and advance public libraries as the essential institutions that they are. Additionally, we talked about One Book, One Coast, which is up on the KRL website. We are participating in One Book, One Coast, which encompasses over 140 libraries across California, Oregon, and Washington. The book this year is a graphic novel by George Takei called They Called Us Enemy. The book is available digitally and in print. You can go to krl.org to find out more. There's also a graphic novel book club event at the MLK branch on May 28th, as well as a live screening event, I believe on Zoom. It's online with George Takei on May 31st. Additionally, KRL is preparing for their SAO audit. The annual report will be prepared and submitted by the end of May, and the audit will take place probably around the fall. We also learned a bit about the KRL annual report process, which we'll learn more about the report later in the meeting. We also got to meet Chandra Talerico, our new director of HR, and we learned about some of the evolving HR processes. And we also discussed next steps around Sylvan Way and New Way Res. And finally, pending logistics, KRL will be installing a book locker in the Seebeck area by the Seebeck Community Center. So very exciting to be able to serve more of the community. So congratulations to you, KRL, for that. That's my update.
All right, thank you, Eric. Now we'll have the financial report from Dan Beer.
Thanks, Marwan. The first quarter financial report is within general budget parameters for expenditures and revenues. Nothing too exciting to report. I have lots of footnotes in there explaining anything that's over 10% expended for a year to date elapsed. Glad to take any questions anyone has on the report. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right, and now we will have our library director's report from Jason Driver.
Thank you. I'll be brief because I'm going to be up again presenting part of the annual report for Wendy. So last month, we obviously celebrated our staff during All Staff Day. Thank you for the trustees who were able to support us. I think our staff get a lot out of having not only leadership, but to the trustees in the House. And so really that was the highlight of what we did last month. And for us across the system, high impact work continues. You got to see the the Teen to the Library, but third graders to the Library initiative is also happening across the system. And our maker programs are expanding, and hands-on learning and creativity at all of our branches were on full display. As people wound up their taxes this month, tax assistance was in full force, helping our residents of all ages, really, or adult ages, navigate complex tax situations. And so looking at broader impact, we'll discuss the numbers later, but we continue to be really impactful in the community. In terms of program numbers, I did highlight where our programs are currently, and we are knocking it out the park, particularly all of our branches, but seeing lots of program numbers increase in Sylvan Way has been really good. I think our teams are thriving. Looking ahead, we're building momentum in a couple of different areas. Museum passes, as we talked about last month a bit, we will offer museum passes through the Seattle Art Museum through a partnership. We're continuing to, or starting to do outreach for our summer learning program, which is coming up, and then ongoing community partnerships and civic engagement. And also really want to highlight the fact that we have, in this time of complexity in our community, particularly with the closure of the daytime shelters, we're seeing an uptick. I talked about this a bit last month, but I've really been intent on exploring partnerships that can give our teams relief, particularly at our Bremerton libraries. And I'm proud to say that we have a partnership building with Common Street right now that I am hopeful to work with Public Services to unveil in a couple of our libraries. And essentially what that would look like is similar to what I ran in Chicago, which was a social worker in a library program. And although they're not social workers, they can provide those collateral resources to folks who are in need and our patrons who have many of the high needs that we might not be able to meet. And so excited to explore that partnership more and have conversations with our Public Services teams on how we can be a benefit in terms of hosting them and how logistically we can pull that off. And so I'm really excited to talk about that next month and beyond. That is my report for this month. Any questions?
Thank you, Jason. Any questions? Jason, I have one question for you. Really?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask if you would comment. I was going to talk about this in the retreat, but can you just touch on a little bit about the American Library Association and the 150-year anniversary? I think that's important. We might miss out.
Yeah, you know what? The American Library Association is 150 years old this year, and that is not lost on me that our history dates back well over 100 years of library services in this county, but I think it's important to note that libraries have been around for quite a while. And as we celebrate a couple of different milestones, America's 250, we celebrate a lot of different things that are happening. It's important to recognize libraries have always been here. Through thick and thin, through good times or bad times, libraries are in all sorts of communities, and so there's a lot of different events that will be happening, particularly in Chicago, where ALA, American Library Association, is headquartered. That will be happening in the summer, and I think more than that, and I appreciate you asking this question. It's really a call to action. It's a call to redouble our efforts and to really solidify ourselves around our mission, which is really to be of service. One of our key missives this year as an organization is to redefine and carve out what service means to us, not only the internal customer service points, but also how do we serve the public. And so that's everything from answering the phone to welcoming people at the door to listening to patrons to listening to each other. But libraries have been impactful as being here for our community and stewarding resources forward. And I'm proud that I'm in a library system that has done that well for the better part of 100 years, and we're keeping that tradition alive. Although we've been a unified system for 80 years, we've had a long-standing impact of making an indelible mark on the community. And libraries do that, particularly in serving the underserved. And the last piece I'll mention is that although we serve everybody, and I mentioned this in a Rotary presentation today, I'm proud, and throughout my whole career as a library director, I've served the underserved in some capacity, whether it was working for the Department of Children and Family Services, whether it was working with impoverished youth in my former hometown to be a mentor, whether it's working with young adults in the city college system, I think, or in ALA, serving on a library committee, library service to the underserved. I was the chair of that committee for a number of years. So I'm really proud that this library and our professionals sort of have that meter. They're always looking out for the people who can't look out for themselves. And so we have an awesome responsibility of not only looking out for them, but looking out for the people who do look out for themselves. And it's a lot to manage, but I will say that in this 150-year anniversary of libraries and how Carnegie Libraries really popped up all over this country, and we talked about this in a retreat, part of the duty for being a Carnegie Library is that the public had to be involved in raising the monies to be able to contribute along with Andrew Carnegie to be able to have those libraries. There's a deep-seated history of that happening, particularly amongst African Americans who were barred in a lot of cases from visiting and participating in libraries. That was highlighted at the Public Library Association conference in a film that was done by a colleague of mine, Rodney Freeman. He actually wanted to interview me as being the history of black librarians, but a lot of that came about because minorities specifically, and for me reflecting back to what I've done throughout my career, I'm glad I found this profession. It is one of the most noble professions there is because much of what we do is born out of heart and much of what we do is born out of a love of helping. And so throughout this 150 years, I am interested to dig more into our history of the 100-year span in that 150 of how we've been really impactful. And we got to look at that through the comms display that was on. Now it is on display at Sylvan Way. So if you really have not seen that particular sort of historical timeline of how this library system has been impactful throughout its 80 years that are defined as a library system, but we know it's been longer again. I'm really just more reflective than anything that we're in a profession that has existed that long, and I'm proud to work in it. That is my soliloquy.
Wow, well, thank you. And we're glad you chose it as well.
It chose me. Thank you. I am going to immediately turn this over to our Director of Strategy and Communications. Just the opener is that annual reports are important because they reflect back to the community in the previous year. And so these come out roughly spring every year, and we have to pull all the statistics, program data, anecdotes from our partners who are in our public services team. And so it takes but everybody contributes to this annual report. And so this is really a look at what last year was for us and how we stewarded those resources to the public. And so really it's for the public, for them to see the impact of of their tax dollars at work. And so I'll turn it over to Jeannie Allen.
All right, we're excited to share our 2025 annual report, which celebrates what we know was a very monumental year. 2025 was really one for the books. Before we jump into the details, I just want to thank our communications team who did a lot of work for several months compiling the data and creating the design of this report. And while I know you have a PDF of the report in your board docs, I'd implore you to visit the website so that you can really get the full experience, because the report is very interactive and really interacts with nearly every aspect of our website online. So we'll jump right in and see if we actually get what I'm hoping for here. Do you know if we have... This is a video. Do you know if we are going to get sound?
Just press it right there. There you go.
No sound. That's okay. The sound is just lovely. Oh, it's just music. Now it's gonna go. Okay. I get a little emotional every time I see that video, and it's about our annual report, so I don't know what that says about me, but it's really exciting. And I want to thank Caitlin Nicholas, who is our content specialist, who made that video possible. So before I dive into some of the highlights of our strategic plan, I just want to recognize that this strategic plan is really segmented into three areas, our three strategic priorities. So you'll see that it starts with fostering welcoming and belonging, and then we go into building collective impact and thrive ahead. And of course, everything that we're presenting in this plan touches just about every aspect of these three goals, but we really tried to put the things that we were talking about into these buckets as they best applied. So as you go through the plan, you'll see that now that we're in our this is celebrating kind of the second full year of our efforts towards the 5-year strategic plan, what we've accomplished. So if we dive into the highlights, I'm just going to take you through not everything that's in the plan or in our report, but just those things that were new to us as an organization in 2025. So in 2025, we celebrated success of a new pop-up makerspace in Silverdale and Library After Dark. We expanded hours for our MLK branch and introduced Scan Easy stations. We upgraded our Windows 11 along with a test pilot to check out laptops for in-branch use. We celebrated reaching 50 interns who have participated over 10 years of our community learning internship program. And we showed up and reached more than 60 community festivals and events. We launched Sharing Our Stories, which partners with local community organizations to inspire conversations through shared reading experiences. And we expanded to the library to include middle schoolers. We grew summer learning participation. We had 10% more 10-hour finishers last year and 20% more 100-hour finishers. We hosted our first ever staff baseball gathering with 80 folks cheering on the Tacoma Rainiers together. And we launched new meeting rooms in Poulsbo with the support of our friends. We upgraded our solar electricity in Bainbridge through the efforts of our building owners, the Bainbridge Public Library. And despite a year of ongoing plumbing challenges at Sylvan Way, we remained focused on planning for the future of that aging facility. And if that's not enough, threading through all of the work of last year was our 80-year campaign and communication efforts to talk about a levy effort, which passed by 62% and secured our funding for our future for the next 7 to 10 years. So if you look at our report, also new this year is we are working to increase visibility for our supporting partnership with the Kitsap Regional Library Foundation and really strengthen our shared message together. And part of the work to achieve that goal was to combine our annual reporting efforts so that the foundation is not only highlighted through every aspect of our annual report, but then their impact report follows our annual report at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason to talk about that.
Thank you, Jeannie. And I think picking up that thread, we are together. Like, this foundation is a separate 501c3, but we work together. And I think that's important because in a lot of library systems, that foundation is both separate physically and they're separated in terms of how they contribute to the library. But we work hand in hand and in tandem with this team, and I'm happy because I think the benefit of that, and because it's a small team, is that we get a lot of big rewards, and I'll tell you what they are. During a levy year, the foundation consistently reinforced the library's impact, and so they were counted on in concert with our communication partners to double down to tell the story of the library. And make no mistake about it, in addition to fundraising, the foundation has a story to tell. And so that's not lost on me. And having to communicate, collect data, work with our partners in marketing and communications, it has been a joy to watch the evolution of those teams work together. And so the impact with public funding and philanthropy, that clarity resonated with us last year. Over 1,000 donors donated more than $688,000, including 493, so almost 500 first-time donors. And that smashed our initial goal of $420,000, like absolutely smashed it. So if that doesn't show you the value of those three people in the foundation, I don't know what does, and it's why we talked about adding more value to extend the reach. As you know, we don't have a capital budget. Our staff, we want to ensure that they have all the tools, the training, and they're also able to put on impactful programs like what we had funded through the Washington Humanities, right? And so being able to continue things like those programs without the umbrella of that organization is going to be important. The foundation is going to be called to step in to fill those gaps. And direct and tangible support for library programs and people, over $313,000 was put to work immediately of that. Funding priority areas like summer learning, staff recognition, branch needs, as I said, and special programs that help reach the community. And that's important because when we go out and do things like celebrating staff and we have staff day, the brunt of that is funded by the foundation. Those aren't funded with taxpayer dollars. They're funded with dollars mostly that are donated, and it's important to keep a talented staff, and so it costs money to do that in terms of training, in terms of being able to provide some of those things. Outings, who's joining me at the Tacoma Rainiers? just me. I'm a baseball fan, so sorry, I'll be there. And so the foundation's counted on continuously to, I always feel bad asking Wendy, can you just support another thing that we want to do? Because we always have a new idea about wanting to support either our staff or programs, and we have to look at the foundation and say, do we have money? Do we have money? And so I'm really proud of that. And just so you know what this looks like, and this will be the end of it, is this individual philanthropy and how this looks is Wendy keeps a roster of donors that she constantly stewarding. Donor stewardship is important, right? And being able to communicate with donors and to give them how their dollars are making an impact on the library is a job. And that means communication, communication, communication. It means writing thank you cards. It means recognizing. And it also means inviting donors out to events and giving them an idea of how those monies, they don't ask for that, but that's a part of good stewardship, is to show the donors what their impact is in the library. And so 84% of that funding came from community supporters, not foundations, by the way. And so it's important to know that. In a lot of larger systems are counting on family foundations and bigger corporations. Like I managed a program through KPMG in Chicago that was just throwing books at us to give to people. A lot of our work here is done by the individual donor engagement. And so 84% of that came from community supporters. That's a lot of work in this county. And so kudos to the foundation for that work. Obviously, there's a lot of people who contribute, including people in this room, and I'm grateful to folks who both work for the organization, represent the organization on various levels, who still support. And I think all those people, I won't call you out and embarrass you, but I appreciate the support. I won't look anywhere but up. So thank you. That reinforces that generosity is really the leading force in helping the library fill the gaps that our property tax levy does not fulfill. And so I'm grateful to the foundation. I'm grateful for the communications and marketing department, and most of all, I'm grateful for our staff who are at the front of the line, who make all this possible, because without seeing them and being a part of it, we wouldn't be able to make this ask, and we wouldn't be able to have donors continue to support us. And so that's all I have, and thank you for listening. Questions?
Yeah, thanks for the report. It's great to see everything tied together, from all of the creativity, the intention around everything that KRL does. Certainly resonates with the patron engagement, resonates with the donor engagement. Also, the KRL Foundation was selected as Nonprofit of the Year last year. That was either Greater Kitsap or around the world. On planet Earth, I don't remember what the...
It was Greater Kitsap.
Yeah, not the world.
Still big, though.
Yeah, it's still big. So, yeah, I just think that, from an impact standpoint, I don't know that 2025 could be looked at as anything other just a completely triumphant success. So KRL and Foundation should pat themselves on the back and celebrate. Not to say that it was... everything was perfect, as the president last year, Jason and I talked through a lot of hiccups here and there, but I think the important thing was they were all lessons learned, and it was all based on passion for the library. So I think even with the difficulties that we've had, there's still overall great support for the library, and based on the numbers that we've heard about, more visits and so forth, it continues to grow. So congratulations to all of you.
I'll just say, I've been on this board for a couple years, and I've always been amazed at the progress that the library is able to do year after year. But last year, with the levy and turning 80 was just huge. And I don't think I was more impressed with an organization than I have been, being a little bit on the inside and watching just how everything moves. I don't know if you've recovered from, the 80th birthday and the levy, but just really a thank you to all the library staff that helped to make sure that the levy got passed and the library continues to grow and thrive. It's just really a big deal. It's a very special thing. And that's all I really have to say about that. I just really want to continue to acknowledge that. And that's, as Eric was saying, there's a lot of things that happened last year and it's just phenomenal. This is a fast-moving train, but it moves slow enough to make sure that more and more people are able to get onto the library, like with the middle schoolers. And so that's a very interesting dynamic that the library has. So keep up the good work. And with that, a little housekeeping. Our future meeting dates are Tuesday, May 26th, and at 5:30, the Board of Trustees monthly meeting. Dates to remember, please visit our Kitsap Regional Library webpage. And I don't know what the topics for next month's regular meeting is. So I guess we'll find out soon. Tune in to next month's meeting. Same bad time, same bad channel. With that, I will conclude this meeting.